A series of chilling predictions by Nostradamus about the Queen's death in 2022 and the sudden abdication of King Charles III have been uncovered. The French astrologer Anne Cyr has attracted international notoriety for predicting future events such as the 9/11 Twin Towers attack, the Iraq War, the death of Princess Diana, and the coronavirus pandemic, to name but a few. Now, passages published by Nostradamus in 1555 show his insights into the abdication of King Charles III of England following the death of the Queen. For the year 2022, the Seer's revelations included the start of a new world war, the farewell of a queen, a global shake-up with natural events which will trigger worldwide chaos and power struggles, as well as the fall of a meteorite, an economic collapse, and earthquakes. In 2019 alone, Nostradamus predicted the fire that razed the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris and predicted that during 2020, commercial space travel would be possible, something that the SpaceX company ventured into. According to Nostradamus, King Charles will be forced out by the British public after they decide he is unworthy, leading to an unexpected man being named as the new king. A man who, later, they considered unworthy. The people will force out the king of the islands. A man will replace him who never expected to be king. Author Mario Redding, a leading expert on Nostradamus, deciphered more of the astrologer's predictions on the subject in his book, Nostradamus, The Complete Prophecies for the Future. In it, Redding explains that Nostradamus successfully predicted that the Queen would die in 2022. This quatrain will come as no surprise to the British people, and it has wide implications, Redding wrote. The preamble is that Queen Elizabeth II will die circa 2022 at the age of around 96, 5 years short of her mother's term of life. Prince Charles will be crowned in her stead and become King of the Islands, the implication here being that he is no longer king of the other regions in the world over which his mother reigned, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., which will have, in the interim, become republics. According to Nostradamus, Charles's reign will be brief and utterly disastrous. His subjects, the British people, will rise up against him, furious with his betrayal of the British nation. Could Nostradamus be referring to Charles's close friendship with Klaus Schwab and his allegiance to the World Economic Forum? Charles has already sworn allegiance to the globalist WEF, signalling that the Great Reset is his #1 priority, which places the sovereignty of his nation in peril. Then again, Nostradamus could be referring to Charles's close friendship with Jimmy Savile, Britain's most prolific paedophile.
You've uncovered the relationship that Jimmy Savile had with the royal family, particularly with Prince Charles. Tell us about it.
As part the reason we were looking at this is we were trying to explain how Jimmy Savile got away with his crimes, and as part of that, we were looking at a huge amount of archive footage of him on television over a period of 50 years. And as part of that, of talking to people, we came across the letters between him and Prince Charles, which helped give us an understanding of the nature of the friendship that they had, which I don't really think we fully understood before. And I suppose what was most interesting and why we've included those in the film, which looks really broadly at many reasons why Jimmy Savile wasn't apprehended before he died, is that the relationship was one where Prince Charles trusted and respected Jimmy Savile.
There are plenty of reasons why the British people could be set to rise up against Charles III. Don't forget his role in the tragic death of Princess Diana, the young and beautiful wife he was determined to cast aside.
Diana alleged that her husband, Prince Charles, was planning to stage a car crash.
Charlie Langston from thedailymail.com reveals what is alleged to be in the bombshell letter said to have been written by Princess Diana herself just 2 years before her tragic death.
She said that it would be the result of faulty brakes and that she would sustain a head injury during the crash.
A few years after the letter became public, Prince Charles was reportedly questioned by UK police.
Prince Charles was asked whether he knew about the letter at the time of its writing, which he said he did not.
Charles's shady past should come as no surprise. Britain and the Commonwealth now have a sovereign who is descended from Dracula, the tyrant who dipped his bread in the blood of his impaled victims.
It's not surprising that Transylvania, home to Europe's last wild bears and wolves, caught his imagination. When he visits in the spring, the hay meadows are a colourful hive of activity, and the landscapes dotted with peasant villages and medieval fortifications. But the connection between Britain's future king and this nation on the eastern edge of the EU runs far deeper than the restorative powers of Romania's landscape. When over there, Prince Charles regularly talks up his direct bloodline with the country's most famous anti-hero. That's right, Vlad the Impaler, renowned for the bloodthirsty treatment of his enemies and thought to be the inspiration behind Bram Stoker's Dracula, is apparently the Prince of Wales's 16 times removed grandfather.
So perhaps it's not surprising that Charles is close friends with Klaus Schwab, the globalist overlord whose plans for autocratic enslavement of the human race represent a modern version of the tyrant Vlad Dracula's extremely violent style of rule.
It is truly a great honor and privilege to welcome His Royal Highness, to welcome him back to the annual meeting. I'm particularly delighted because it has been almost 30 years ago since your last participation. I sense the signals that we are reaching a global tipping point, as it has been mentioned many times here, in areas that are so close to the heart of His Royal Highness.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am most touched that Professor Klaus Schwab should have invited me to be with you as we mark the 50th anniversary of the World Economic Forum and its mission to improve the state of the world. It is this mission and the urgent need to shape the next 50 years that has inspired me to be with you here today.
Nostradamus goes on to claim that the public's ongoing anger towards Charles is so great that when his agenda is revealed, he will be forced to abdicate. Redding explains, the pressure on him is so great and his age so much against him that Charles agrees to abdicate in favour of his son. The question is, which son? For in the last line, Nostradamus makes it very clear that a man will replace him who never expected to be king. Does that mean that Prince William, who would have expected to succeed his father, is no longer in the picture? This would mean that woke Prince Harry, favourite of the World Economic Forum, becomes king in his stead. That would make him King Henry IX, aged just 38. The predictions have created a storm online, prompting many to claim the global elite are manufacturing a situation in which Harry and his wife Meghan become king and queen consorts of England. If Nostradamus is correct and Charles is forced to abdicate, something strange happens to William's line, and Harry is crowned king, then it will be clear as day that Klaus Schwab and the WEF have infiltrated every government and institution on Earth, and the globalist dream of a one-world government will have arrived.